Hey, this is Scott Herbst. I am founder and president of Six Flex Training and Consulting, and you are listening to or watching The Flex. This is a podcast where we talk with people who are expressing leadership with the intention of giving you access to expressing yours. I'm really excited to have not only a powerful business owner, but a really good friend here today, Zahra Hajiaghamohseni. Who is owner of ABX. They are an agency that provides in-home services to clients in the Charleston, South Carolina area. I did want to say, Zahra, I'm really excited to have you here. Aside from the insights you are going to provide us around leadership, what I want people to know is that you actually officiated my marriage. Why you officiated my marriage is because you were so instrumental in bringing my wife Carrie and I together. So I want people to know how just what an important piece of my life you are, and how grateful I am to you, and how delighted I am to share you with them now.
Yay, I'm excited. Actually, I'm looking at a photo of officiating your wedding literally right there.
Awesome. Oh, hey, me too. Cool. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So I want to start off the show as I always do, which is just giving you an opportunity to share a bit about your journey, how you got into the field of behavior analysis, what inspires you about it, and then what had you get to a point where you took the leap to start your own business, and what that's been like.
I think my story may resonate with other people well, is I just happened to fall in love with kids with special needs. And I
Hmm.
said, how do you help these children? I was a lifeguard at a YMCA, and I just remember this is how naive I was in my early 20s, like 20. Like, what's wrong with that kid? And that's the
Yeah.
language I use, right? I'm like, what, just literal. And then it's like, oh, that child has autism. Oh, well, how do you help that child? Like, how do I help
Yeah.
him swim? How do I help him get in the water? He's screaming. And then that sort of gave me an introduction into, oh, well, there's this thing called applied behavior analysis. And then once I got into some coursework, I was like, oh, wow, this is so cool. And I always give this analogy. I had this moment where I was like, oh, this is like gravity. It's always an effect, but a
Mm.
lot of people don't know about it, right? The intentionality of
Yes.
it. And so it's always there. And you're much more powerful and intentional in your life once you understand it. It's always there. It's not a science just for an individual with a special need. But once you understand the science of it, you understand it's always there. It's always fluid. It's dynamic. It's in every single microscopic and macroscopic action. And I was like, this can change the world. I was like, this
Yeah.
science can change the world. I get excited talking about it. Like, I literally get goosebumps about how excited I am. And I definitely understand the value of it being sort of pivoted from a marketing and exposure from the special needs platform, right? Like, that was like, oh, it works with this population. However, the one thing that I wish people understood is that it works with every single interaction in your life, including yourself. And you're so
Yes.
much more powerful and have such a better quality of life if you understand how to apply it. Um, yeah. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
And then tell me a little bit about your journey from going from like, oh my God, here's this really cool thing
Yeah.
that is everywhere with
Yeah.
everyone, myself included, right?
Yeah.
To okay, I'm gonna actually create a business, and not just do this as an individual, but create the space for to deliver this for people.
So again, this probably resonates with you and a lot of other people. You have to kind of put your time in and find, okay, like, this is my pathway to doing all the, I call it the conventional check boxes, right? The credentialing, the field work hours. You have to go, and then there's a reason why, because you have to know what you're doing, right? That is important, the integrity behind that. So I went through that, and I was working at the Department of Mental Health, Department of Disabilities and Special Needs in the Charleston area at that point. And I remember, Scott, I had this pivotal moment and I hope this resonates because it's a privilege to share this information with you and others, where I was like, I'm in a large system. 5 years ago, when I found the science, I was so excited to find the science. But now what I'm
Yeah.
doing is checking boxes. I show
Mm.
up, get a paycheck, I'm told to go do this for this kid with autism, and I'm not actually making a difference. And for me, I know you're a values person. One of the things that always mattered to me is well-being, right? Everyone deserves peace, equanimity, happiness, joy. Even if I touch
Yeah.
one person's life in a meaningful way, that matters. So I got essentially frustrated with that large system, which it happens in school systems, anything where there's typically over 50 human beings in a system, integrity starts breaking down, or maybe even 100. And I found
Mm.
myself in that situation, and I kept waking up. Again, this may resonate, and it's a privilege. If you find yourself like just agitated in a situation, like occupationally, where you're like, something's not right, that may be what it is. It may be misalignment with your values. Like, I really want to have this type of impact. So I found myself saying, huh, I think I can do this better. I may not have as much access to like 100, 500 consumers that I've got an unreasonable caseload, but maybe if I help 5 people, but really help their lives, that's
Yeah.
enough. So I just took a leap. I call it a leap of faith. This is really funny. I know you also have faith as well. I didn't understand, like, there's like the idea of like just different types of scriptures from different types of religion or spiritual systems, but like once you hear these words and then you start experiencing these phrases, these catchy phrases, where it's like let go, let God, or so and so take the wheel. I was like, I remember having this pivotal moment in my 20 when I was 26, and I just kind of woke up again, if this resonates with anyone, and it's like this thing goes off and you're like, just let go and trust, take the jump, the leap of faith, right? Like these phrases. And I just did, Scott. I just let go. And I said, just go and trust that you'll get the money you need to pay your bills, that you're
Yeah.
moving in the right direction. So that's how I kind of pivoted, because I was habitually finding myself ineffective in changing people's lives in ways that actually mattered. And then I took that leap into creating ABX. And then I was like, oh, other people are also maybe not as excited about their 9 to 5s. So I kind of just started naturally and organically like, I didn't force anything. It was all
Yeah.
organic. And that's part of my, one of my values is let things naturally happen on your route. Don't force things into grooves that don't fit. So just as you're going along doing your thing, the things that should come into your path will naturally align. And that's how ABX organically started growing, and I started attracting and
Can I want to interrupt you and I want to go
yeah,
back to something and I want to talk through this a little bit.
yes,
This is really cool actually. So I think this is a new podcast.
yeah,
In fact, you and I are recording episode 6 right now, I think,
okay,
and it might be 7.
so
But we actually haven't released an episode yet. The first episode comes out anyway, new podcast, right?
yeah,
And this is a cool experience for me because while part of my business is to work with business owners, etc. I
yeah,
haven't actually sat and had many conversations like this until I was like, I'm going to do a podcast, right? Um, and one thing that's emerging as a theme that I hear consistently about what had people go into business is two things. One, a certain level of frustration with how things are already going.
mhm,
But two, and this is what has really surprised me because I think the frustration is there. Like, there's a lot of frustration with a lot of people.
mhm,
What I've really heard, and I want to underline for our listeners, is a connection to what you really care about
mhm,
and a clarity about that I don't know is present with everyone.
mhm,
So I just wanted to pause and say, if you're out there
mhm,
and the frustration resonates with you and you're wondering like what do I well then what really valuable thing you can do, I think, is to connect with, well, what is it that I really care about?
mhm,
And it doesn't have to be, Zara, you said it was well-being.
mhm,
It doesn't have to be well-being. It could be autonomy or independence or could be people having fun or whatever it is, right? But really appreciate that you said that. And like it just clicked for me, like, wow, I keep hearing that.
That's so
So
cool.
yeah, thanks.
Good. No, you're welcome. And I think to underscore one thing, I think that's a really important is when I left Scott, I left without any concern for how much money I was going to make. If that makes sense, it wasn't about a profit margin. It was about, this is going to sound really cliche, I'm just going to follow my heart, right? Like
Yeah.
what heart, and there's some maybe anecdote to that is like that does lead you sometimes in the right direction. Like you're following your north, and like I had found where I needed to be, and it wasn't about me becoming a leader, right? Like that was never the intentionality. It was about me helping people live the best life they could, and then naturally I was like, oh, other people need help doing what I'm doing, right? So I'll just help them. I'll put them on the ship with me that I've just started because it's a lot of work, right? But
Yeah.
I wasn't concerned about the money. I wasn't like, okay, I'm going to create an HR package. I didn't know all this. I didn't know what a business attorney was. I was like, I'm just going to go this way because this is the right direction. I'm going to be helping people. And I found that if you are clear with your values and intention, you're typically going to be okay. I don't have I don't make fear-based decisions or anxiety-based decisions because my decisions are from my heart. And
Yeah.
feel really good. I feel really good at the end of each day. I don't live in a place of fear or that I'm going to like have any kind of retaliation or any that. But that's how I got into the leadership part. Is I just started saying, "Let me just do what I think I should be doing," and then other people like, "Hey, like, can we join you? Can we be part of that?" I'm like, sure, because when I started, there weren't a lot of ABA companies, right? And it takes a lot of energy to start a small business. There's a lot
Yeah.
of
When did you start? How long have you been in business?
2007.
Okay. Yeah.
Long time, and it's tiring, it's fatiguing. You have to really love the what you're doing in order to have the ship be a small business. Otherwise, it's easier to just delegate to a corporate framework, show up, punch the card, and leave. And I found that framework left me very unfulfilled every night. I was frustrated. I don't want the job insurance. I don't want the 401k. I'd rather have one impactful 24 hours every day and be happy and joyful than worry about health insurance. And that's for me. That's my journey, and that's where
Yeah.
I'm with it. But that has allowed me to essentially live with integrity. If that I know it's a word that you and I both value, live how I believe I should be living.
Yeah. Awesome. And so you've been in business for 18 years now?
Yeah, I feel so tired, Scott, too. I feel like I could like be 60 right now. It's very humbling running a small business and I'm doing clinicals. I love working with people. So,
What do you when you say humbling, tell me more about that.
um, when you run a business, when you work with other human beings, you really have to let go of your own personal ego, the I, me,
Yeah.
my, in
Uh-huh.
order to effectively create teams of people that want to work together with you and with each other. You have to let go of your personal needs, and it has to be about collective well-being.
Mm,
So there's a lot of energy in that, letting go of your ego and saying, okay, what's best for the whole circle here, or like all spokes
yes.
on the wheel. And so when I say humility is there's a lot of things where I was like, well, Zara's got to do it this way 15 years ago. Now I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like now I'm like, let's find a place in the middle. Where's the middle, right? And
Yeah.
my my opinion, like you, everyone else can win, right? Like Zara doesn't have to win. What I can say is like everyone's own journey that I've gotten to work with, everyone's right. Your perspective is correct. You're experiencing the world as you experience it through your body. I am too. And to be in a leadership role, you really have, when I say humility, you have to be able to say, I have to step out of my experience and say, what does it feel for Scott as my team member, right? Let me put my shift and put myself in his body, his experience, tap into compassion because I care about the team. It's not
Yes.
about Dara being right. It's about let me shift. And that's what I mean about humility is saying, don't
Mm,
get angry at this person. Don't go off on this person. Stop your reaction cycle. Become,
yeah.
become that person. Now think about what it feels like. Now respond from that point of view.
I'm curious. Do you ever look back on yourself from like, 15 or 10 or even a year ago
Mhm.
think like, oh my God, I was such a jerk.
All the time, every 24
Um,
hours.
yeah. Okay. Cool. So I'm not the only one.
No, every 24
Um,
hours, I'm like, who was that person? And I feel kind of shameful sometimes. I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't feel someone, I forget who it was, some comedian, it was like, you should look back on yourself from 10 years ago and think you were an asshole because that means you're growing,
Yeah.
right? Um, but so okay, cool. So I am curious, being someone who really takes on growth, and I mean I know that about you, right? What can you share about what you've learned about giving up your ego and learning to like look from your team's perspective and attend to not just what I need as an owner, but like what does my team need?
What I've found is in holding a small business, first you really have to want to. And so I show up every day because I value. So here's the one thing I'll say about being a business owner: you have to value working in groups. There's
Mhm.
inherent value in being in a team because that diversification and different perspectives makes you stronger. So you have to value that as a leader.
Yeah.
I want to say that because you have to keep showing up when it's inconvenient. Um, and I think, and I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Scott, what was your question again? The specific question?
What have you learned about getting the attention off me to how do I take care of my
Yeah.
team? Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. Here's something really easy that I always do the Zara test. I'm like, Zara, would you want to drive an hour and a half to go provide service to that client? No. Don't ask your team member to do it. So this is like one of those little simple things.
Mhm.
Don't ask other people to do things you don't want to do. Right?
Yeah.
You know we're going to be a sufferfest. Don't expect people to do things you don't want to do. Like, sure, maybe you could ask them, but don't get mad at them if they're like, that sounds like a sufferfest. You're right.
Yeah.
It does sound like a sufferfest. Why would I ask you to do that? So that's one thing I've learned is treat people like, don't treat them like human currency matters. Humanity matters. Like people's lives matter. They're not just a team member, employee, or contractor, or whatever classification system.
Yes.
They're actually human beings and they go to sleep, they have to put their clothes on. And that's the one thing that I've learned is they may be constipated. Their daughter may be having a fever. They may have a family member with cancer. I don't know what the last 24 hours of their life have been. The nicest thing I can do is smile and just say, how's it going today? How are you doing today, right? Like that may be, even if I have my own like things like an audit or like a huge peer review phone call. If you're going to be in a leadership role, you have to be willing to put the well-being, have compassion, like almost like an endless amount of compassion, and in that way where you can say like have those parameters for yourself, I think, for your own well-being. And you probably do have to have that. But my point is in showing up for your team in the role of what we call leader, you have to be willing to always have compassion for them and understand that they're a person like you and there's absolutely no room for anger, frustration, resentment. Those things have to go. Like you have to be willing to be always kind, the kind one, and take the hit. Take the hit. Just take it. Just say you're frustrated. If the person is rude to you, you want to be rude back. How's everybody feeling right now? How are we feeling? It's like you have to be that person to just step up and show the compassion and leadership. You just have to. That's what keeps things in a place of peace. I don't know if that makes sense or if that's recognizable to you, Scott, but in a leadership role, you always have to model that behavior. Be soft, be kind, be gentle, and always just smile. Always smile. So it's exhausting. And some days are exhausting, Scott. I want to be real as well. And that's why I think it's important if you are in business that I go back to well being also for me, for Zara, for Scott, right? For Carrie. You also have to have off days, and it's okay letting your team members
Yeah, I was
know.
gonna say, like, um how do you take care of that end of yourself?
For me,
Yeah.
nature and exercise. I mean, we went to Greenland together. That's another adventure for your listeners and for people get to. We went and did something really cool together that most people will never do. Like 0.01% of the population. We got to hang out in the middle of nowhere in the mountains of Greenland. I
Uh
unplug. I unplug. I unplug like we did in Greenland.
Mm-hmm.
On the weekends, I turn my cell phone off. I'm very careful about what I watch and listen to, like the things that go inside, the sounds, the messaging, the advertising. You have to be really careful about what's around you, and you want to be around neutral or positive things when you can. Because a lot of the work we do when you're dealing with human behavior can be very challenging and sometimes can be adverse conditions or things that are not optimal that can hit your heart in a heavy way, and I have to come home even with my team members where I'm like, I feel sorrow for them, right? Like compassion, like, oh, that their person, their mom is going through that, right? And I feel that for them. But I can't allow that to become something that's becomes unhealthy for me, if that makes sense, where I'm constantly thinking. So I unplug, keep myself
Yeah.
in neutral ways, go into Greenlandic mountainside hikes 7 to 10 days a year. That's how I take care of myself. That's how I do it. I just escape to the mountains and kind of what I do, like a spiritual reset, a soulful reset, just to get back in touch with just the peace of nature. That's how I do it. Just get outside.
Yeah. So intentionally taking time
Yeah.
to nurture yourself, however that is. I appreciate that you said that's how you would do it because we did that hike in Greenland. We hiked 100 miles through freaking tundra.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Plotting. I remember the
uh,
word plotting is like, I remember plotting with wet socks was our job. That was our job for 10 days, was plotting in wet socks.
yeah, what a weird experience. Weird because I totally loved it. It was absolutely magical. I'm so glad we did it. And if they were like, "Do you want to do it again?" I'd be like, "No."
Same.
Um, but but I think what I want people to hear is that uh, find something that is actually nurturing for you, right? So you love travel, you love activity.
Mhm.
Uh, it could be that people love gardening or baking or going to the movies, right? But being intentional about taking that time.
Yes, I would say, Scott, take at least 1 day a week, like a solid day. People need to take 1 day off from all of it. 2 days really is optimal. So that's the other thing is I feel like burnout is a big thing, just in general, human burnout. And people need to really be off from their occupational stuff at least 2 days. If it's consecutive, that helps me tremendously if I can have two back-to-back days. If not, just 2 days in a 7 day period where I don't have to be on in the role I call leader. That makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think people, what you were pointing to earlier was people, they call it compassion fatigue,
Mhm.
like the the constant taking another's perspective.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, awesome. I want to hey, before I start asking you about what's next and where your attention is towards the future,
Mhm.
is there anything you want to share that I haven't asked you about how you've grown as a leader, what you've learned, insights you can provide, etc.
I would just say if you're new into leadership, just in general, make sure you're doing it not for the title, for the pay grade change, or for to be in charge of other people. Those are all the non optimal reasons, because those will inevitably lead you to a sufferfest. So do it because you want to bring out the best in other people. Leadership is really about not about I'm above you or you're below me. It's about we're on the same platform. And this is actually what I think of leadership, Scott, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think a leader, honestly, is someone who's really okay and comfortable saying, you're really good at this. Let's pull you in here. Let's pull you in here. And allowing people to shine naturally what they're gifted with, what is the
Yes.
easiest talent. That to me is what a leader is. And that requires humility because a leader is not someone who's like, I'm going to do it all by myself. No, you're not. You're going to let John, Jackson, Amelia, whatever, you do this really well. Can you step up and do that? Can you show us how to do it? That's what leadership is. And that's the reason to help people shine and do what they do best. But definitely don't step into leadership because you're going to get 15,000 more a year or because you get to be in charge of giving people clinical feedback. Those are not the right reasons to step into leadership, because you're going to get a sign-on bonus. Those are bonks. You're going to end up so unhappy, like in like 3 months.
Uh-huh.
Do it because you love working with people and want to highlight the best about them. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
What is next for you? Or where's your attention now?
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
in this weird phase of I've been doing a lot of stuff with ABA through helping individuals with special needs. What I'm really trying to do is expand my scope of practice, right? Not sorry, scope of competence. And like I told you at the beginning of my journey, when I was like 20 to now I'm like 45, 25 years later, is I want to give the science to people in other ways outside of just special needs. So I've started Green Space Behavior as a secondary company from ABX with that vision in mind. Is I'm still working on what that's going to look like, right? But that I knew that this was the evolution of how I am supposed to be giving the science forward, right? Like, so first it was through the pathway I've been doing it now, but now it's like what's next in the second half of my journey, right? Very intentional. Is so one of the things my PhD research was on teaching people to be effective supervisors, because BCBA supervisors, fieldwork.
Yeah.
So that would be my spinoff project, is really empowering people beyond just application to one population, is teaching people the real science of it, right? Through you have to be a high quality fieldwork supervisor to really empower people on the science, and not just you're an autism service provider. Those are two different things, right? And so helping people understand that and helping our field produce high quality fieldwork supervisors. So we have BCBAs who can apply skill sets to every human behavior. Um, yeah, so that's sort of my next step. And it's very humbling to kind of go back and start again on another 2.0 business from the ground. And it's a lot of work, but I love it. And one of the things I've had to recognize personally is I've had to slow down and recognize I can't do ABX really well and green space really well. I thought I was going to be like, I can do both of these things. And that was really humbling. I had to say, with integrity, finish what you're doing well with ABX, right? Honor what you've started, because that's what integrity is, and that's important. So work with these great human beings you're working with, land those planes appropriately, and then shift. And that's what I've really learned across the last couple decades, is do one thing really well and be very proud of yourself. If that's leadership or if that's direct service, be really intentional. And so I've had to slow down as I'm transitioning into green space to be intentional and ethical about how I manage and land ABX, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So it looks like you're still learning. Well, you're still learning about yourself.
mhm.
You as someone who learns about yourself. Um, but now learning, okay, how do I transition? How do I move? And that's like your next growth edge.
Yes, and it's requires a lot of patience, and that's not historically something I'm good at. I'm like, let's get it done overnight. Let's build this ship overnight, and that's my growth edge, is slowing down right now. And for everybody, that's different. Like some people don't need to slow down. Some people need to speed up. Just
Uh,
depends on your baseline, right?
yeah, right,
So,
right. I love that.
good point.
Um, all right, before I'll ask you, I'm going to ask you two final questions. I'll ask this again, but is there just anything else you want to share and anything else you want to talk about?
I love our science. I love what you're doing. Yeah, I just love everything about behavior analysis. I get excited by it, and I love human behavior. And I think very positive and optimistic about our science impacting the world at some point. It may not be in the next 10 years or 15 years, but I think once we get people into larger systems doing OBM work, I'm really excited, Scott. I feel optimistic in ways about even politics that are highly divisive and nefarious sometimes, or agendas. But I feel like we can change the world with the right set of people with right ethics in more of these leadership roles, which is what you're doing, right? Getting people who are equipped to understand human behavior and motivation to build these better pathways for us. I feel really optimistic. So,
Awesome.
yeah, thanks for that question.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for answering it. And my last question, if people want to reach you, how do they do that?
That's a good question. So I do have green space behavior. I do have a website because I'm manifesting so I do have greenspacebehavior.com that, and I have a working email that way. Also have ABX solutions. So it depends on if someone wants help with like BCBA fieldwork supervision, um, either email will get to me. I'll kind of funnels into one email system. So either of those would work. So greenspacebehavior.com is fine.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Zahra, thank you so much for one, everything, but right now, just coming on my podcast and sharing your insights. It really means a lot to me.
You. I appreciate that. Thank you for your time and willingness to engage with me in this way. Thank you.
Awesome. And I just want to say thank you to those of you who are listening. And this concludes this episode. We will see you back here next time.